got this.
All right, guys. Let's do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. You're sticking around on TheNest, episode number 15 now. With me today is Arlette Lugo. She is a major in nutrition, right? You said nutrition?
And dietetics.
You're into holistic health and holistic healing and all that. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so basically holistic healing is anything that has to do anything without pharmaceuticals. You heal through basically plants, herbal teas, holistic medicines like natural tobacco, and just things of that nature. So you pretty much do anything to cure yourself that's from the earth and not made in a lab. And holistically eating as well. So like sticking to a plant-based diet or a vegan diet.
Yeah, I noticed that you're like a vegan, right? Like a strong vegan. Like, oh, sorry. It's so you're like a strong vegan, right? You're into veganism and that whole science, right?
Yeah.
So what's that like? Like for someone that's like not a vegan-based like dietitian or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So what's that like?
It's honestly so cool because when you get to like you're open to all these new doors that you didn't know were there before, and we grow up like eating a certain way with our families, especially like Mexican households.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Carne asada, tacos, all this good food, right?
Yeah.
So then you hear about veganism, you're like, I never, like, fuck no.
That's exactly.
Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
Well, yeah, you can cuss, man.
Okay. But yeah, like you grow up thinking like, well, this is the way I grew up. This is the way I have to eat. So I'm gonna stick to it. Anything else sounds crazy. Anything else sounds like a little off, and you're just like nah, not down.
Yeah.
But once you start like educating yourself about different topics and the way you feel after you eat certain meals, then you kind of just get into it. And eating a plant-based diet, like it's more, I think, of someone has to go through it in order to be able to express how it is.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like not having like energy throughout the day and like feeling very bloated after meals.
Oh, so that was that was the reason why you went into veganism? Like you tried a new diet to see if it would like improve your daily lifestyle?
Yeah, well, I haven't eaten meat like in 7 years. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, red meat. Like I was pescatarian for like
for a while.
For a while, and after I was still eating dairy and as a treat meal, So I would have cheese occasionally. So I was basically just no red meat, and that's it. And then after that, I decided to I did, since I went without meat for so long, I was like, well, I don't think dairy and like fish would be that hard to give up if I just did it, But the thing that was scaring me was like I didn't see anyone who was a vegan and that looked the way I wanted to look, like bodybuilder, six pack, muscle. I just saw people who were like really like thin and like, like you're small, and I don't look like that. So I was like, I don't know if I can do it, But then after watching like a lot of documentaries, reading, doing research, then I realized that, oh, well, it's different. It's a different look on everyone. And obviously I'm not skinny. Like I'm not how those people look. So it basically just depends on how your body type is and how it is when you eat, personally.
Yeah, you have a very interesting Instagram page. And I was going through it the other day. The what's it called? The one
out.
Shout it out, please.
At Plant-Based Lugo.
Plant-Based Lugo. So
Instagram.
every day you post like a different meal or something like that. It looks pretty crazy. Like it's like always a bunch of fruits or like just like I don't know. You always like
colorful.
Yeah, it's very colorful. Like I guess it's very suited to Instagram,
Looks trendy.
But my main like concern being a meat-based or someone that eats meat is where you get your protein from.
My protein? Okay, so this is something that we often get asked like all the time.
Yeah, definitely, I know.
And it's a big concern only because a lot of people, they want to be healthy, they want to go to the gym, and they don't know if they can get that same amount of protein that a meat eater gets when you're gymming, because obviously you need more protein in order to build muscles, you need all the amino acids. So how vegans do it is we rely on legumes, beans, hemp seeds, protein powders, any plant-based protein powders that you can find. I know Tellez takes vegan protein.
You do? Why didn't you tell me about this, bro?
The protein that I'm taking is vegan.
Oh, yeah?
I told you.
What's it called?
The gym one.
Oh, the JYM one? Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's so many.
They have both like vegan and non-vegan options.
Oh yeah,
For
a
that.
lot of
I didn't know
brands
that.
do that. Yeah. a lot
Yeah,
of brands
well,
do.
it's still a pretty new thing.
Oh, why'd
it's
you
not
switch
that
over
big.
to that though?
Well, mostly because honestly, like I don't really consume dairy as much as I used to, or pretty much at all. The only dairy I'd say I consume is maybe like from cheese and from ice cream.
Ice
But
cream.
other than that, I won't drink like cow milk.
Why? Does it like upset your stomach or?
Honestly, I feel it. Well, more than anything, I guess it began with being calorie conscious, like we talked about before. Especially trying to bulk up. I was trying to stay like as lean as possible. Not having
Yeah.
to go through that like phase of unsatisfactory where I don't feel good about myself. So it started with that. It's really low calorie. It tastes good. Same thing with I ate it in oatmeal and regular milk. It didn't really give oatmeal taste. Kind of tasted bland. So I started using coconut milk, like vanilla almond milk, and it tastes way better. And I don't add sugar to it, so it's just the oatmeal and that milk. So I mean that's part of it. I mean other things is because, I'm a person who likes to try a lot of new foods. Like we've gone to a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty open to new things.
Yeah, try new stuff, try new
yeah.
powders and
A lot of
that.
times, I've came to you and I'm like, oh, like let's go here, and you're like,
Yeah.
But I mean, you give it a try, So.
Market Girl's a pretty bomb ass place, man.
Oh yeah, Market
Yeah.
Good Cafe. Yeah, that one's pretty good.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Oh man, they got a lot
That's
of cool
good.
stuff.
But
They
then
have
they
pasta.
also have vegan options there too.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go. We're gonna go. All right.
It's in Downey, California, right?
Yeah, it's not that far.
Oh,
It's
okay,
pretty
cool.
close.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Dope.
So one of my main concerns about like your Instagram page or like what you post is like, well, you're all about like health, right?
Yeah.
And like helping people out that are trying to lose weight or like just manage their weight. One of the main things that I'm concerned about with your post is like when you make like smoothies and stuff, like okay, just can you run me through like one of your recipes, like a fruit smoothie that you make in the morning?
Okay, so I make one new every day just to try out things, but I
Your
guess
favorite?
one of my favorites would probably be like bananas, blueberries, spinach, protein powder, one date, and almond milk and
But
water.
you don't overdo it, do you? With like fruit and stuff?
No.
Because I noticed, well, there's like this like controversy going on between like the people that are into like that kind of diet and like people that are against that kind of diet. And one of the main things that stands out to me is like the fact that one of the main points that people on like I guess the meat eater side says is like people that consume too much fruit in like a liquid form, like it could be detrimental to their health.
Okay. Yeah, I get you. And I think this just comes out of like the scare of fruit being way too much sugar, and I totally get that. But you need to see the difference, people need to see the difference that if you're on a meat-based diet, or if you're just like on the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet, where you're just eating like a bunch of fried foods, like you don't really care about your health,
SAD
whatever.
diet?
Yeah, that's what it's called. And if you're just like eating McDonald's or whatever, and you're eating, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, but this happened to me. In high school, I was actually like almost diagnosed with diabetes, even though I was like not that big.
Well, you were pretty. Oh yeah.
So they told me that, and the first thing that they told me is cut my sugar. Cut my sugar, so cut my fruit. And so I did, and it resulted in me like fainting a lot and like having a lot of low
really?
energy. Yeah, carbs too. In high school, I just didn't consume any carbs. I was just like, that's why I was so skinny.
Or maybe it was that.
Yeah, but you need to think about it. So a lot of people assume that fruit has a lot of sugar, therefore you're gonna, it's bad for you. But the thing that people don't understand is that sugar, there's two types of sugars. There's complex sugars and there's simple sugars. Yeah.
Glucose.
And you guys probably know about this, obviously. So the way that fruit digests in our bodies is so simple, it just slides right through. The problem is if you're eating a bunch of other like crap, like you're eating dairy ice cream and you're eating chips and you're eating fries and you're eating all this, and then you also have fruit in your diet. The fruit's not the thing spiking up your glucose level. It's all the saturated fats, that you're having in your diet. So, I think that's all like a myth for people to like stop eating a lot of fruit.
Well, I've heard that like fats are actually not as bad for you as sugars, especially like sugar that you get from like smoothies, because the way your body digests sugar in a smoothie, like the way your body digests like fruit in a smoothie is a little bit different than the way it digests fruit when it's just by itself.
Yeah.
Because when you grind down fruit into like a liquid form, you're getting rid of all the fiber. You're getting rid of all like the essential nutrients that will break down sugars in a much different way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're consuming a smoothie filled with like, let's say, because to make like a glass of orange juice, it'd be like six oranges,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So when you're consuming all that sugar, it's going directly into your bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
It's not getting processed the same way, like if you would, like the way it would if you would consume the oranges on their own.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with that. It's totally different. So juicing, that's why a lot of people juice, because
Yeah.
if you're having like a juice cleanse, say you're doing a juice cleanse, the whole reason and purpose behind it is so your body doesn't uptake a lot of energy to digest the food.
Mm-hmm.
That way, all the nutrients directly go into your bloodstream, but it doesn't do any harm. Does that make sense? Like, it goes directly in your bloodstream, but it's supplying you with the nutrients faster than it was if you were just eating them whole. But both ways you're going to benefit from it.
Okay, well, I think it's important to like first break down what sugars, the negative effects of sugar, because a lot of people don't really understand like why sugar is bad for you and how
Yeah.
it can make you gain weight.
Yeah.
The way sugar works is like it stores fat.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to lose weight, the main thing you should cut out first like
Sugar,
is
definitely.
sugar, because
Yeah.
that thing could
I
store
learned the
fat.
hard
And
way.
the person that actually pointed that out to me was Tellez.
Refined sugar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, but I mean,
Or would you agree that it's like all sugars?
no. Well, I mean, glucose is pretty important. Like a lot of times, like there's the misconception that it was meat that helped grow our brains, from prehistoric times.
I think you
But-
told me that.
Yeah, but that's not really the case. It's like it's not really the case. The thing is, a lot of it was carbs.
Carbs?
Yeah, more than anything, it was carbs. What was essential and like a pinpoint that people neglect was the cooking of food. It increases the calories, which gave them more energy, which allowed them to use their brain more. And I mean, most of it. Okay, so yeah,
complex carbs, right?
Yeah.
Because complex carbs like pastas, breads, everyone assumes those are bad for you, but in reality, those are the ones feeding
Yeah.
your brain and
Yeah.
your gains. Like,
Yeah.
low-key,
yeah,
the gym.
Exactly.
like neurons, they run on glucose, so
Mhm.
it's pretty important.
Like our bodies, we're meant to eat carbs, and
Yeah.
I think that's the thing where we all like, everyone who's anyone wants to be healthy and fit.
Yeah, I
Like,
see a lot of people go on the keto diet. And
oh my
that's
god.
bad.
yeah, that's super bad.
What is it?
Don't
It's
even
like
get
high
me
fat,
started,
no?
bro.
Isn't it like high fat, like low carb or something like that?
It's so we basically cut off all carbs,
Yeah.
high fat, high protein, and that's just not the way our
That's-
bodies are supposed to. You know that diet is actually supposed to be for people with epilepsy only,
Wow, I didn't
because it
know that.
controls their bodies to not react to a seizure,
Yeah.
and these people are doing it to lose weight.
Yeah.
Like it's
And-
hella dangerous.
And a lot of them are like, I'm assuming that diet is like really heavy in sodium.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just imagine it. It's just you're just eating like meats and
They're
what do you
cooking it bacon and
yeah,
wrapping
like,
it in cheese.
What are you
and-
gonna like? The sodium on that is crazy. Like imagine you're just eating like say like just steak, like for example chicken. Like what do you use to season it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salt, pepper, Cajun, lemon pepper, all that high in sodium. No calories, but people overlook the no calories. But that has a lot of sodium. That's gonna bloat you like shit, man.
I had two people in my life. So my brother, he's a vegan. He's like 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I have his friend who tried the keto diet.
Yeah.
They both did it at the same time. My brother went vegan just for his own health reasons, and then his friend went keto to prove Michael wrong, my brother.
Yeah, okay.
Or to just show him a point that, like, eating meat, you could still lose weight, but he didn't do that for those purposes. And throughout these both diets, they both lost the same amount of weight. The only difference, they lost 30 pounds together.
Wow.
The only difference is that the guy who was on the keto diet actually ended up fainting 3 times, and he gained all the weight back within 3 days after he finished. So it's really dangerous to put your body in ketosis, and there's a lot of other ways to put your body in ketosis that's not detrimental to your health, like
what ways?
intermediate fasting.
Oh yeah, intermittent
Yeah.
fasting. I do that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what I basically do is like I save, like I skip breakfast.
Me too.
I save my first meal for lunch. So I'll skip all my meals until 3 p.m. And at 3 p.m. I'll have like a pretty high caloric meal, like between 1,500 to 2,000 calories.
Okay.
And then for dinner I'll just have like something really light,
Yeah.
like 1,000 calories or 500 calories,
Uh-huh.
So that way I keep my body very very low in like calories,
Yeah.
calories wise.
I think whenever you mention just fasting, people get kind of scared.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like-
Because people hear fasting, they think, oh, damn, it's
I'm not gonna
extreme.
eat, yeah,
But I
Yeah.
think it's more extreme to be like on a keto diet, you
Yeah.
know?
it is.
It
Because
is.
you're completely eliminating an essential macronutrient, and it's like your body, like you said, is not supposed to function that way.
That's why most of these people, like, they ended up fainting or
Yeah, yeah,
throwing up
exactly. That
because
makes
they
a lot
have
of
no
sense.
energy to
Yeah.
run on. They have no
Yeah.
glucose in their body. They're expecting all of it to just burn out, and it's just they're running on fat and protein. And people don't understand also that having a high protein diet can also be really acidic to your body
Yeah.
and causing other health problems like inflammation and having really like bad injuries when you're working out, like, and it's just because your knees are inflamed or
Yeah.
you know. So it's all these things that people like they just hear and they're like, oh, I want to try
Yeah.
that, like the military diet, the keto diet, but everyone mentions veganism and they don't really see it as a diet. They're just like, oh, I can't do that. And it's just like, why not? You could do keto,
What would be considered like a high protein diet, like a dangerously high protein diet?
the keto diet.
A keto diet, but
Mhm.
like how many grams above your own weight would be considered like a high protein diet? Because I know a lot of people like say that you should be eating 1 gram of protein per body.
Yeah,
per
yeah.
pound of body weight.
For like someone who's like, I guess you would say semi-active, you know, like they don't like go to the gym every day, it's about like 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of
Yeah.
body weight. And then for people who are active, it's anywhere from 1.5 to about 2 grams of protein per body weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else over that, I mean, I'm not sure if it's dangerous, but I'm pretty sure it's not doing you much good because that's a lot of calories, you know. Like if you're already consuming, just say you weigh like 150 and you're consuming like 2 grams
Mm.
of protein per body weight, that's 300.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
Like
300 grams of protein, and imagine how much you have to eat. Imagine
Yeah.
how much you have to force yourself. Because I've been in that situation where I thought it was just about like macronutrients, protein, and stuff like that.
Me
But
too.
you have to really like consider the amount of calories you're eating, or else you're not gonna see results.
yeah, that's the main
Like,
thing.
yeah, like I would just be like, damn, you know, like I'm eating like all this protein, I'm eating like no fat or low fat, you know, like.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I just feel like heavier, but I don't look any better, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I started really like taking into account calories, I started like looking way better. Like I started getting more cut, especially from my chest. Like I feel like that's like the hardest fat to lose, the chest and like your like lower abdomen.
Yeah.
But I feel like
especially that
it's
one.
really kept me lean, like taking account of my calories. Like it's not even extreme where I'm like counting every single thing, you know, where I'm scared to eat at restaurants because of the calories. Like I'll just, like you said, you know, like say you didn't eat all day, you'll have a heavier meal.
Yeah.
And then after that, you'll have a lighter meal because you're kind of, you know, like keeping in mind, like, okay, I had this, which
Yeah.
was really dense, and so I'm going to have something light to kind of even it out, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they get confused by, like, the timing of meals. They say, oh, you have to eat every so often, or this is going to happen, but that's not true, you know? A lot of that is, like, just myths.
It's all about just educating yourself
Yeah.
because if you follow like what everyone's telling you, you're gonna end up really lost, and
Yeah.
you know you're just not gonna end up seeing any results for yourself. You know.
Honestly, I think it's very simple to lose weight.
Yeah,
Like
it's just trial and error. Like, see what works for you.
Exactly,
But more than
yeah.
anything, it's going to be calories.
Yeah,
Calorie
it's calories.
deficit and
Yeah.
how do you say it?
Deficiency?
Caloric deficit.
Deficit. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you just caloric deficit, like more cardio often than weightlifting, and
Yeah, you're supposed to burn like more
than
calories.
you
Yeah. Well, I guess.
It's in about, I think it's in a lump sum of like a week or something. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not per day because that's crazy.
Like if you're a
Yeah,
bodybuilder
no.
and you're used to just like lifting heavy weights, you should probably implement cardio while you're also trying to cut.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that way you could like burn more calories while you're also cutting calories at the same
And
time.
increase the volume, because if you're cutting and you're lifting really heavy, that's gonna be bad for your muscles. Like they're not gonna get sufficient like protein,
Yeah.
carbs, because you know you're putting yourself through like really high levels of stress.
Yeah, you're not gonna get
And
enough recovery time.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you really have to just work on volume if you're trying to cut.
Mhm.
But I mean, everyone is different, you know. So you just kind of like gotta see what works for you. But for me, I feel like that's what's worked, like lowering my calories and starting training volume. Because if you remember, like we were always going heavy, like on the bench. Like
Mhm.
that's how I got
Yeah.
to where I got benching, because we would just go heavy and we would just like I would just eat a lot. And then
Yeah.
for a while you were too, like when you were catching up,
Yeah.
and then. But yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's another thing that scared me. Like when I was starting like my cut,
I'm
I
like,
was
damn, I'm not gonna be strong
yeah.
anymore.
You noticed you're losing your strength gains. You know what I mean?
Even now, yeah.
It's like you're gonna sacrifice that, but in the end, you're gonna look more lean.
Yeah.
So
With more muscle, because you're
Yeah.
already bulked up. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
And especially if you maintained it, like you keep that some of that muscle, you know.
Yeah.
Like you own the weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you said that a lot of people they get turned off by the idea or the concept of intermittent fasting, but it's the way it works is like you're fasting during your sleep, right?
Yeah.
So and studies have shown that your metabolic rate is the same when it's asleep than when it's awake. So you are in fact fasting while you're sleeping, and then you just cut out the breakfast, and then before you know it, you have like multiple hours without a meal. So
Exactly.
then that's how you're able to cut the calories per
What's
day.
cool is that after like 3 days of probably doing this, you just
Yeah.
get used to it. You don't
Yeah,
even
that's
get
true.
hungry in
Yeah.
the morning. I don't get hungry in the morning. I just feel like I have to eat after my workout, and that's it. I'm
My
just
my first week was the hardest because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm so used to eating breakfast and like my stomach would growl in class, but I just replaced my first meal sometimes with like a protein shake.
yeah.
And then the protein shake would hold me off. So then, and I also I started drinking coffee in the mornings.
Okay.
So like caffeine also abstains hunger.
Yeah.
So for the people that are like
Same thing with
trying,
cold water.
yeah, for the people that are trying to like implement this into their routine or whatever, it's like caffeine is a if people regularly drink caffeine, that this is a good way to abstain that hunger as well.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so
I'm
caffeine, like-
really sensitive to caffeine, so
Oh,
I don't
yeah?
consume it.
Yeah, I met people who are like that too. But another good thing is when you wake up, like drinking, like I guess room temperature to colder levels of water.
Yeah.
Also, like when I go out to eat to restaurants, I usually try to finish like the first glass of water that they serve me
Yeah.
before my food gets there, so
Yeah.
that way I won't overeat. You know, like you already kind of have the sensation of being full, and you'll be satisfied with less food.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the abortion laws that recently like have been going on. I know this is like a huge tangent from what we're talking about, but like
We need a girl's opinion.
we
you
need
know?
a girl's opinion because
We're
course
only
y'all do.
spectators.
Me-
We're only spectators, you know.
me
I
and
am here for this.
me and Tellez were talking about this the other day, but I was like,
I saw.
I didn't feel right like talking about
Yeah.
it, like knowing that I'm not a woman, you know.
Yes. Okay. Good.
So, what do you think about these abortion laws that are happening right now in Alabama?
They're fucked up. Like that's it. Like they're not okay. I don't agree with them in any way. I don't think any woman should be stripped down from their rights. I mean, this has happened before. I don't see what the difference is going to be. Like abortion was so illegal back then.
Yeah.
And look what happened. You had all these underground railroads of women getting abortions from random people, and women like using hangers on themselves for their own abortion. What are you going to get out of it? More women in danger of their own safety and health. You're going to get kids in foster homes, kids that are probably going to get abused because the mom didn't want the baby in the first place.
Yeah.
There's just so many factors that I think that these laws just shouldn't have been passed, and like it's so messed up.
Yeah.
Like
What do you say to the argument that says that when you have an abortion, you're essentially ending a life?
I don't think that's true because, like Taya said, because I saw the podcast, it's all about, how conscious you are during that. Like he said also, like, you don't remember being a fetus. No, it's not going to happen, And it just makes sense because you're not going to end a life that's not there in the first place or that's not consciously there at least.
Okay, so my next question to you is, when do you believe a life begins?
I think the life begins probably
Like, how far along does a fetus have to develop before you can consider that a life? Is it after 6 weeks when it has its first heartbeat, or when you start seeing other phenotypic traits like arms, legs, a head, brain?
Honestly, I would think the second option, because once the baby starts developing like the brain and all that stuff, like then they have like neurons connected to their brain. But even then, like it sounds so bad saying that, but even then, if they could still have the abortion, because there's a certain like part where you can't have an abortion anymore because the baby's too developed. When that baby's too developed, I think that's the point where it's like, okay, you can't get an abortion because it's too developed. It's dangerous for you and the baby. You might end up passing if you go through with the abortion. So whenever they say, okay, you're way too far in and you can't get it, so we can't go within the procedure, then I think that's the time that the the baby's life is relevant.
What's interesting is that Alex Jones mentioned or brought up the case that I forgot which state, but it's a conservative state, allows abortion after the baby's born. So it's called post-abortion. But it's like that word or phrase doesn't really make any sense because it wouldn't really be considered abortion after the baby's born, right?
No.
But yet it's legally sanctioned. Like it's a legal thing. So like you said to me that it's until they say we can't go on with this procedure. Yet in this state they're going through with this procedure after the baby's born.
That's murder.
So
there's a lot wrong with like the way we constitute what we think a life is. Like honestly, I feel like what they like the base of the argument is consciousness. You know, if the organism is not conscious, then we really don't pay any mind to it. Like even now, they're discovering that plants have, I guess, not in a sense of consciousness, but they have a sense of awareness. Like they'll change, I guess, the structure of their DNA to be a little bit more bitter, like to fend off animals and stuff like that. You know. So the thing with when is it a life and when it's not, that's like, I feel like they kind of bite their own tongue, you know, in a way. Like they haven't decided. They can't decide, you know. For a human, it would be different than an animal, than it would be in a plant, than any other organism that's alive, you know, like bacteria and stuff.
I think that's the problem. Like humans often do speciesism through everything. They pick their favorites for everything. So whatever we find cute, we make it a pet. Whatever we find entertaining, we put it in a circus. Whatever we find weird, we put it in a zoo. And it's the same thing. It's not the same thing at all, like as a human life. I don't know. I mean, I don't really, my opinion's kind of different on that. Like I do think like if it has consciousness, it's just as important. Just because they can't speak, it doesn't mean they're any less important.
Yeah, there's like theories that suggest that when people report alien abductions, what they're actually recalling instead of an actual alien abduction, it's the memory from when they're being born. And it makes a lot of sense when you stop and think about it, because it's like you're all of a sudden paralyzed. You have no motor capabilities. You're kind of like, everything looks kind of like daisy because first you're using your eyes for the first time, and then you're in a medical examination room, and then there's people all around you with bright lights, and basically a hospital, right? So there are these theories that suggest that we can in fact remember the moment when we're born. So if we just establish that we can actually recall memories from our actual birth, then we can safely say that when a baby is born, that is the moment when that baby has a consciousness for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but now the question is, like, how far before that can we detect when a fetus has a conscious brain, right? And in my opinion, it's more about the heartbeat, because it's like that's when you know that the life has been like, that's when the life is alive, right?
Yeah.
But like some of you guys say, it's like it begins with consciousness, right?
Not just that, but like we were talking about last time, there's like a small window from when a girl can figure out that she's pregnant and that the fetus has a heartbeat. If you remember, it was like what was it, 2 weeks or something, or like maybe even a shorter amount of time that the fetus had a heartbeat. No,
I think 6 weeks.
Was it?
Yeah, 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, and it's longer.
And then just imagine, like, it takes about like maybe 2 weeks, the earliest that you might be able to tell, right?
With a pregnancy stick, or
just in general, like you start getting symptoms that you can actually test. Like, remember when you pulled it up too?
Yeah.
That it said on screen, like even on the, what is it, the ultrasound?
Yeah.
Like that's a small window, so it's pretty difficult to even.
Yeah, that's the hard part, because if you
and
don't
it's
know
not something you're looking for, like you don't wake up every day and you're like, am I pregnant today?
No, yeah, definitely.
So it's like, if it's not something you're looking for, how are you gonna prevent it?
So with this other state that I was mentioning earlier about that they go through with abortions after the baby's born, and it's legal. And before that, you told me that we should let the authorities decide when an abortion is correct, right? Because you said when the doctor tells you we can't go through with this anymore because now it's a baby, it's developed, and it's basically this. But this state does allow that. So like, isn't it then isn't it up to us, our own autonomous ideas, like when we should abort and when we should not?
Yeah, definitely. Because, okay, if it's in that case, I don't know what's going on in that state, but it's not okay. Like at that point, because this baby is living, breathing, is out in the world, and is no longer in the mom's stomach where she can legally abort it. So in that case, I just would assume it's murder. It's like when a baby pig comes out of a mom's, like pig, and they just kill it, like for dissection, and that's it. Like it's the same thing, and I don't think it's okay. I think it's totally stripping away our rights once again. Women are like the biggest minority group out there. Like I've taken like gender women studies, learned about all this, and it's just we've been fighting for so long just to have the same rights as men, and
What kind of rights though?
just even this, like, okay, like I'm not saying that men have they do certain things to oppress us, but it's just in the way it is. Like these bills, they weren't even written by men. That's the problem. These were written by women. And I know the person that signed the bill was a woman, and it's just all the influences that we get from men for us to even think that it's okay to pass these laws. And it's like, because who's going to tell a woman like that unless the mom is really conservative, But these people are also old. They're old-fashioned, and they're older generations.
Well, a lot of it's founded on religious philosophy, like those ideas. The famous quote that God believes that all men are created equal. Like I guess even in the fetal stage, right?
Yes.
So that religious philosophy is what kind of drives these ideas of abortion being evil.
But then again, you think about it, and it's like, what happened in church and separation of church and state? Like, it's not. We still have like in God we trust and the dollar bill, but we want to say we're separated from church and state.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a unitary state with the church being the head of it. It's not necessarily a monarchy. What it is basically fundamental principles that set in place a certain path dependency. So, and that's why the Constitution, although it still is in part founded through religious philosophy, is not considered a monarchical kind of thing,
Yeah, I know. And what's crazy is that the Constitution, the Constitution is the oldest thing that the U.S. has, and we still use it. Like all other countries have renewed their laws, and that's crazy that we haven't.
Well, we have amendments though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I just think that
a lot of them too.
Yeah, it's true. But it's just why is it that we stick to these same beliefs and ideas? Like, do you agree with all of them, or is it just because we're comfortable?
Well, the First Amendment allows for the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of expression.
Right.
So that has a lot to do with this whole abortion thing that's going on right now.
Exactly.
Because people are allowed freely to express their religious beliefs, and those religious beliefs can manifest themselves through ballots. So.
And well, that's the thing. Like, if we have, if our First Amendment is freedom to speech and religion and all that, so you really think like these laws should be passed? Like, it's just. It shouldn't. Like that. It contradicts the whole thing. The whole thing that we have. We're the home of the freedom and all that. It's just we're not. We're being closed in. And it's Alabama today, but it could be California tomorrow. Just because we're not Republican doesn't mean it can't happen.
Yeah. But I honestly believe that the people that are trying to like pass these laws are not necessarily doing this as a kind of like manifestation of a war against women or anything like that. I really believe that these people think that they're saving lives because a lot of them are really like religious people that live in small towns,
And that's the problem. Again, it's like going back and looking at past and history, women are more in danger when abortion is not legal because they end up hurting themselves, they end up paying someone else to do it, they end up killing themselves so the baby doesn't survive. Why? Because having a baby is difficult. Like, it's a whole life. And yes, although like that's the argument that people make it seem like, oh, well, that's why you shouldn't abort. Well, that's not your choice, That's not your choice to be able to say that. What would you prefer? That this woman has the baby and she ends up just throwing him on the streets because she didn't want him in the first place? Or...
But the thing is, like I said, pro-choice gives you the option to do both. So I don't see what the argument with pro-life is, Just because you're pro-choice doesn't mean you have to get an abortion. You could choose to let the baby live.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like birth is the most painful thing in the world. And a lot of women really feel or believe that they either won't survive it
Mm.
or they won't be able to go through with the 9 months it takes to create a baby.
Yeah, that's why I'm more on the pro-choice side, because I know that all this like pregnancy stuff, it entails a lot of like you're putting your body through a lot of
Oh my
like
gosh.
I've seen two of
strenuous.
my sisters go through it.
Yeah, and then like you said, there's these back alley abortions that women take because they don't want to have the baby so bad, to the point where they're like, oh, I'm gonna take this option instead, you know, and then the baby. And this could be very unsafe, unsanitary, and all that stuff. For that reason, that's why I'm on pro-choice, you know, because I feel like you're doing more harm than good when you're eliminating the choice.
Exactly.
But I also like to bring in that other ideology, because like this state's very liberal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to get a full understanding of this whole spectrum, you have to listen to both sides. You have to. There's no other way, you know?
Yeah.
You have to listen to the right and the left at all times, and then make your own assumption about what you think the right answer is.
Because I'm pretty sure people have like switched from sides, you know, like
Yeah,
after like
multiple
really.
times, yeah.
After,
I remember
really
when I had
hearing-
like no knowledge of it, I was also like against abortion. I was like, not like excessively, but I was like, that's kind of messed up. Like, why would you do that? But
Yeah.
I didn't know all these reasons behind it. I didn't know women hurt themselves. I didn't know that all these reasons like are worse than actually having an abortion.
And it's
Yeah.
like I had mentioned, it's about more than just the abortion. It's like the responsibility that comes with having a kid
Yeah.
is it's giant, you know, like now you got to think for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
What the money you're making now, you have to find a way to redirect it to, you know, use on a kid, on your family, on whatever it is. Like I was talking about the health insurance, like now that's another person you have to pay for, you know, because it's expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you have a baby, you're no longer living for yourself. You're living for someone else until they can live their own life, and
Yeah.
that's half of your life.
But the good thing is that in this country, you receive a lot of benefits. You could get a lot of help through like welfare and stuff that can help you with like maintaining a healthy life for that child. You have the WIC programs. You have all these other motherhood programs that they have available in this country. Now, in other countries, that's not the case. There's a lot of third world countries that don't have this welfare state that we do, right?
Yeah.
And yet, their babies still grow up to be full, healthy adults. I'm not saying that all of them, but it's very possible. So, what's this whole idea that you can't live with a baby if you don't have the money? Like you can't support the baby if you don't have the money for it.
I mean, a lot of it also has to do with genetics, what your bodies and what your DNAs and ancestors have been conditioned to be able to survive through. You know, like some areas of the world learn to survive solely on like fruits, vegetables, and you know, like meat is a scarcity in some places, or even just fruit. It might be the opposite in other places. You know, meat is the majority of the
But would
diet.
you say it's impossible to raise a child in this country while living below the poverty line?
It's
Below the poverty line?
Yeah.
I mean, no, technically not, because it doesn't take much to stay alive, you know?
Right.
It's more of the fact of what kind of living conditions are you giving the kid, you know? Like, there's no window, or it might be very small, there's no window of opportunity for progression, you know?
You also have to think of all the things the baby needs. Like, you know how expensive diapers are?
Vaccines.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Diapers.
Vaccine your kids, please.
Once they get at a certain age, they have to eat certain foods, but before that they're breastfeeding, right? And then after that they have to start eating like things that are more edible. But what if a woman, like, you know, she's homeless, say she's home. I've seen a lot of homeless women with babies, and what do they feed them? Who knows? They're probably running on milk for like a long time because they can't afford to buy anything else.
Yeah.
So I would say it is difficult because you have to think of these, as the kid grows older, the clothes gets bigger, the clothes gets more expensive, the clothes, you know, it's
Cost of living.
everything. It's everything. And then you have to send them to school, and then
Yeah.
you have to get them vaccines, which everything costs money. And it's just, it's difficult. Not everyone has the luxury, and a lot of these women are doing this alone, you know? Like,
Yeah.
they don't have anyone to support them, and some of them, you know, get kicked out of their house because they got pregnant in the first place. So now they don't even have family to support them. Now they don't have a baby daddy, and now they're on their own. And these are like live stories. Like, it's not like oh yeah, some women. No, it's a lot. It's like a majority of women, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty common. Like households where it's only the mom and the kid, or even
Yeah.
multiple kids sometimes.
Yeah, single parent households are one of the leading factors for living in in low income conditions. You know,
Yeah, because when you only have
one source of income.
one source of income
Yeah.
coming in, like how are you supposed to sustain yourself and a whole other person?
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult, but I honestly don't think it's impossible.
I mean, it's not
think
impossible
I think
to keep
it's
someone
possible.
alive. It's
I
not
don't.
hard.
I don't think it's impossible. It's just it's difficult.
Yeah, you're putting a lot more stuff on your plate that you weren't asking for in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these women, like, if they have to take the kid to the university, they'll do it. Like, women will do anything if they truly knew, like, I want this child, I'm going to have it, even though I know I can't, I'm going to do it. They'll go to the university with the baby. They'll find someone to take care of the baby while they're at work.
Yeah.
They'll make it work. Like,
Yeah.
they won't just give up, although some do, which is sad because they end up in a lot of, like, foster homes and, like, homeless.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, like, I would say that everyone tries, their best to help support a child, obviously. Like, we're meant to care and nurture for, like, our young,
Yeah.
like, but...
It's built into our DNA for sure.
Yeah, we're social creatures. Like, we're meant to nurture and care, but, like, we have these other ideas, like, when we reach this certain point in life when we're like, I can't have a baby because I haven't graduated, I haven't done this, I need to do this, I want to do all these things in my life in order to live my best life, and this baby is hindering it, that's the part that's messed up. It's like, oh, like, well,
If you
that's
feel
just
like that, you shouldn't have kids.
yeah, that's just how we live, though. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like my sister, she had my first nephew while she like a year after she graduated high school, and she was going to school still. And then so she put school off for a while, and just recently, like, she transferred to Cal State LA.
oh, that's
She
good.
just
Good for her.
finished her school, and she has 3 kids now.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and she
Yeah.
just got into
Beast.
Cal State LA. Yeah,
Beast. See, that's
Damn.
awesome.
And she has a job as well.
yeah, she has a job.
That's you know what? Props to your sister, man, because she's
know,
balancing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Props to
Yes, girl.
what's her name?
Ileana.
Ileana Tellez. Feels weird saying someone else's name
It
because
does.
I've never heard your last
I
name with
know.
anyone else.
I know.
No, yeah, that's true.
It's not that common.
But
I've seen it with the S.
with an
A lot. I've
S.
seen it with the S.
Tellez?
Yeah, but I guess that's where a lot of people get the Tellez from.
Oh
I
yeah.
hate that. That's annoying.
Oh.
Telelotes.
Uh-huh.
Hey, a
That's
lot of people
hilarious.
don't know about that.
They don't.
A lot of people don't know about
Oh,
that.
now people do.
Okay, so and back to what we were talking about. So you were talking about how the baby could be a hindrance to your life, your goals, your aspirations, and all that. But people on the conservative side would say that those are all things you have to give up once the fetus is inside your body, because now you have to give that life a chance. So what do you say about that? Do you not believe that every life should be given a chance? It's a very difficult question to answer. I know, because this is a very controversial topic that even at the highest level can still be debated.
Yeah.
People that are intellectuals in the highest level of the right or left ideology still cannot come to a consensus. So I understand why it's hard to like answer these questions. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, like I said, like, I really do just depends on the woman.
Yeah,
like,
more-
if
more-
she believes that this baby is worth living and she can't handle it and she can't do it, then that's her choice. And we have no say to just tell her, like, no, you can't do that. You have to give this baby a chance. And it goes into so much more categories. Like, like, you could say this, like exactly what Tellez is saying. You could say the same thing about animals. And it's just like, why is it all of a sudden that when it's like a baby fetus, what makes the baby fetus different from another animal fetus? Like,
Well, it's
they're born the same way. If you've seen ultrasounds of different animals and a baby,
Yeah.
it all looks the same.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why is it any like different? Of
Well,
how you think?
it stems from the fact that we inherently believe that the value of a human life is more valuable than an animal's life, and that's that philosophy, that school of thought is primarily what allows us to eat meat on a day-to-day basis and not feel bad about it. You know what I mean? And domestication and
Do
the
you guys
whole,
believe that?
that all life is created equal.
That
Or-
humans have some authority to be at the top, like, rather than animals? And if so, why?
No, well, the thing was, like I was telling you earlier, Charles Darwin, he was like amongst the first of many to argue that humans see ourselves as like divine creatures when it comes to, I guess, living organisms, you know?
Yeah.
And we tend to do that. We feel superior because of our consciousness, you know, the way we're able to communicate with each other, the way we're able to organize.
Our complex minds.
Yeah. But a lot of it, like, it's due to anatomy, you know? Like, what we're able to accomplish, it's because we can stand on 2 feet. We have hands that we're able to use.
Yeah.
We figured out how to do stuff like that. Same thing with, like, in the prehistoric times, like, when they learned how to cook, a lot of that was responsible for, you know, like, the progression and evolution, allowed for evolution. It's not necessarily the eating meat.
Yeah.
It's the cooking, you know? More calorie-dense foods allowed for easier digestion and for us to be able to get more of the nutrients.
Yeah.
To think ahead, to be like, I need this is serving my body, this is giving me energy in order to hunt or to do whatever I gotta do to
very
survive.
critically acclaimed author named Jared Diamond made this book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it, right? So Guns, Germs, and Steel, in one of the chapters, he talks about how the domestication of animals is primarily what led to our ability to innovate and to further advance the human race. What do you believe?
I totally see that, and
Yeah.
I totally get that, and I think that's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We used animals for our food, for our protection, for our clothing, for our weapons,
Exactly.
even.
Yeah.
Oils,
And
everything.
Yeah, everything.
Even just more commodities.
But the thing is, like, you know, like, obviously things have changed.
And
We've
it's right.
become more advanced in everything, so we don't have to, like, do that anymore. You
We
know.
have more alternatives now. Like before, you know, you couldn't look up a cookbook or a recipe like based on, well, without using meat, you know?
Yeah.
Like now there's so many alternatives like for
Or
vegan
synthetic
burgers.
leather, like,
Yeah. Not just
everything.
like even just starting with the basic food, you know?
Yeah, we've all
Yeah.
established that our bodies are different in the beginning of this podcast, right?
Yeah.
For Jordan Peterson, you know Jordan Peterson, right? So a famous author, 12 Rules for Life. His book is amazing. So this guy Jordan Peterson and his daughter, I forgot her name, but they went into a meat-based diet because any other like diet wasn't working for them. So they're all meat eaters. Like they only eat meat. So what do you do about the people that are meat-based eaters and people that just tend to eat meat on a day-to-day basis? Because I think the majority of the people in this country are meat eaters, like a vast majority, and the people that are vegan are actually a minority in this country. So what do you do to the people that are dependent on meat and like that their diets are dependent on meat? Like you said that we have a lot of alternatives now, but yet there's people that who solve like their body, it only runs on meat. What do you say about that?
I mean, the thing is, I don't think it runs on meat. A lot of it is, I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm pretty familiar with like the whole B12 argument.
Yeah.
A lot of what they say is that B12 is deficient in vegan diets, but that's not true. You can. There's a lot of alternatives for it. There's
You get it in pills, man.
Yeah, exactly. You could take like 10 milligrams a day, and it's I think what you're supposed to consume like on a daily basis.
You can take a B12 spray, and that's
Yeah.
enough for the whole week.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, all our bodies are different, and these people that could only really like sustain their energy levels through a meat-based diet, well, they're anomalies, right? Like because like we said, everybody's body's
Well,
different.
that's true. Sometimes there's exceptions, but
Okay.
Yeah.
the argument is that B12 is only found in animal products, so that's a lot of it.
That's-
But people don't understand that you can get other forms of B12. You know.
Well, who knows what it is? I'm not saying it's B12, but
No,
it could
yeah,
be.
that's one of the biggest like arguments that
I
people
have
make.
a lot of people that tell me it's like main questions that vegans get is like, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your B12? And how do you stay on this diet without like losing like a lot of weight, you know, because people think that their calories go down because you're taking out the meat, you're taking out the cheese, you're taking out all the animal products. But in reality, it's B12 comes from soil, you know. We only eat animals because the animals are the ones that eat directly from the soil, pick up the B12, they consume it, we eat it, we get a little bit of the B12.
That makes a lot of sense.
But the thing is that mostly anyone, if you're not supplementing B12, even if you're a meat eater, you're still not getting enough. I guarantee.
Yeah.
And this is like studies and statistics shown. And again, with vegans too, you know, like it's a supplement that everyone needs to take no matter what diet you're on, because no one's getting enough of it. Because even if you got it directly off the ground, like people still wash it, we put pesticides on it, we put all this crap on it, to the point where it's like we stripped down B12 from it. So now we have to supplement it with different like foods like nutritional yeast and spirulina and, you know, like just the sprays and pills themselves. But I just think that these people who are on this diet, this meat diet, if it works for them, cool. The only thing is, like, it's not sustainable. I don't know if, like, you guys agree with this, but with mostly any disease that's being put out there, high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks, diabetes, they all lead to, like, having an amount of acidity in your body that is mostly caused from eating a lot of animal products.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get that. And it's just, if it works for them, cool, but I don't doubt that these people will have a lot of problems health-wise in the future if they continue it.
The problem with being a vegan in, well, this day and age is that it could be pretty expensive, you know what I mean? And very complicated as well, because we're so used to just eating meat on a day-to-day basis. To switch to a vegan diet, you have to inform yourself about the kinds of things you have to eat to maintain the right kind of nutrition levels, right? And a lot of people don't want to do that, or a lot of people maybe not even have the time to do that.
Yeah.
So do you believe that it's entirely possible to get rid of meat, like, and just switch to a vegan lifestyle now that we've established all these?
Of course, especially if you live in California. A lot of third world countries are vegan because meat is a luxury.
Yeah.
Meat is actually more expensive than any plant-based foods. The only reason a lot of people associate veganism with expensive and luxurious and it's only a white people thing is because of the meat alternatives, the restaurants, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're honestly just eating a whole food plant-based diet with legumes, seeds, nuts, soy, all those things, they're all going to be less cheap than if you were to buy like a steak next to that, you know?
What do you think about people that hunt for their own food, though?
Hunt for their own food?
Yeah.
Well, I think these people, wherever they're at, if they're in an area where they honestly can't supplement any other way, which I don't think it's true because there's 22,000 edible plants that we can eat. I just think at that point they're just eating these animals and they're hunting this way because it's been through tradition and people don't like change, they don't like tradition, so they're going to continue it on. And
well, hunting's more about tradition than just, it's more than just tradition, is what I'm trying to say, because hunting is actually something that is mandated by the government because certain populations of animals get too high and then this can lead to extinction.
They kill off other animals.
Yeah.
So,
well, a lot of people say that, like, oh, if we stopped eating cows, there would be too many of them, and like we'd be like surrounded by cows, and then, but that's like.
You know what I think that is? I think that it's more of a supply and demand thing. Like, if you don't demand a cow, there's not going to be an overpopulation because there's not much use for them, so they won't be bred as much as they are right now, and at the rate that they are. Same goes for any other animal. Like, say if we have no reason to eat a cow, we're gonna leave them alone. We're gonna let them produce as they are. They're gonna die off. They're gonna die off as they are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But like moose or like bear, people eat bear and people eat moose, and this is directly mandated by the government because if the populations of grizzly bears, for example, gets too high, then there's not going to be enough moose, and that could actually lead to extinction in the United States for certain like populations of animals. So what do you think about that? Like, what's your opinion on that whole thing?
My opinion on that is really that if that's the way these animals and if that's the way everything is supposed to happen, I don't think we have any say or control of what goes extinct and what doesn't, just because we're human and we're conscious of it. Like, think about it. If humans didn't have a voice, would we really have an opinion on it either way? Like, these animals would just go extinct on their own. There's plenty of animals that have gone extinct before, but it had nothing to do with us because we weren't here yet.
But like big game animals, like moose, like that's a very important animal for like people that are dependent on it, or like people, just that animal in general. Like, there's a lot of associations that are like they're for the conservation of certain species of animals, and one of the ways to conserve certain species of animals is to actually allow for hunting to happen. So what do you think about that?
Well, I would say I just don't think that in this case because having the population too high, I don't think would really make like such a big difference as
It
we
actually would,
think.
though. It's Sandine taught us this in 10th grade biology. I forgot what it's called, though. It's when a population of a certain animal gets too high, and it directly links to extinction of a certain species of animal.
Oh, invasive species?
No, I forgot what it's
No,
called.
that's not invasive species.
It's carrying capacity. That's what it's
Oh,
called.
okay,
Carrying
okay.
capacity.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, that's a term that I pulled out from the back of my head. Like I seriously
That's
didn't. Like I didn't hear that shit since 10th
Yeah.
grade.
I'm this old.
Yeah, I'm this old.
I just think it's not our responsibility. If that's the way nature takes its course, then that's how it is. Like, we only have a say in it because, you know, we have a government and everything, and we get to do this. But in reality, if we didn't, then it would just go as nature intended, and that's just how I see things. You know, I'm sorry. Like, I can't really tell you my personal, because I just think that if that's the way nature intended it to go, then that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, at the end of it, it's just your opinion, you know. It's not. No one's gonna be 100% right every time.
Yeah, but I want to just touch up on that one thing you mentioned about invasive species, because there are invasive species in states like Florida. One of their main problems is that they have alligators running around wild now. It all started with like some broke out of a lab or something in Florida, and now they're like literally in people's lawns and people's like porches and stuff. And like, what was that whole thing about a child getting eaten by a
Disneyland?
crocodile in Disneyland?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
what?
So in fact, hunting
Like last year.
I didn't even know.
hunting is mandated by the government in Florida. They pay people to kill off certain like crocodiles or alligators. I forgot if it's crocs or alligators. I think it's both, because I think they found the Nile.
I believe it's alligator here, and I believe crocodile that's more likely found in like Australia, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Crocodiles,
I forgot which
Australia,
one.
alligator is
Yeah.
here.
So alligators are running around in Florida, and they're an invasive species. They're killing off children in Disneyland.
I might be
So
wrong,
it might be the other way around.
but one of them is.
I feel like
Yeah.
it is, because crocodiles are in dry land.
Yeah.
But what do you say about that hunting in that context? Is it so bad then?
Okay, for me, since I am a vegan, I don't think hunting is the answer for anything, even if it is to that extent. I know it sounds really bad, but it's just like a belief that I have that animals shouldn't be killed by humans, like, you know, like with guns or any of that, because it's just like disrupting everything. And if it is to that cause, obviously, if it's a child in danger, if it's people like that, then yes, protect your own. Like, you have to, you know, like, kill these animals in order to protect yourself. Then
Okay.
yeah, I'm totally for it. Like, I would do it if my niece was here and there was a crocodile trying to kill her. I'd kill that crocodile, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't care about my moral beliefs. That the problem is just I'm protecting my own.
Yeah.
An
It's
animal would
objective.
kill you if
With no-
you were about to
no
kill,
hesitation.
like, touch their child too. Like,
Yeah.
it all depends on like how dangerous these creatures are, and
Yeah.
if it's at a point where it's endangerment of your own life and your family's life, and then I think it's totally okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the thing is that this happened in Disneyland, though. So
that's insane.
so to stop that, you wouldn't be able to pull out a gun, because you can't have a gun at
Yeah.
Disneyland. So
Yeah.
the only way to prevent this kind of stuff from happening is to just kill off the population of crocodiles, or what is it, alligators? Alligators, before it even gets to that level. Before they become an invasive species to that point where
Yeah.
they're in Disneyland. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, and I see what you mean, and I think it's, you know, like, it makes sense in a sense where, yeah, it got to that extent. We should have prevented it from happening, but, you know, who knows if it happened again? It probably won't, but I'm not sure. I don't even know how that could
Well, the
even...
population of alligators is steadily increasing in that state.
Well, if they continue to do it, and if they're doing it because a child was killed, then I think it's totally appropriate. You know, I can't say like, oh no, like they shouldn't do that, but I think it's appropriate in that extent. But other than that, I think hunting as a sport, as a, you know, as a fun thing to do, is just totally wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and you're disrupting the way of nature's life and all that just by killing these animals. Like,
Yeah, well, typically when people hunt, they are given tags.
yeah,
For a
because of the
certain-
big population, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not really like something you do. Well, it is something you do kind of for fun, for sport, but it's also something that's mandated by the government, something
Yeah.
the government compensates you for.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that. Like you could have fun hunting, and
Mhm.
I've listened to podcasts about people that go hunting, and like it's this whole experience of traveling through the mountains and then finally catching a moose or a bear after days of looking for them, you know, and that's where
Yeah.
the exhilaration comes from.
Yeah.
So
And I get that, but I think at that point it's just a little psycho, if you ask me, just because it's like you traveled and you looked at all this beauty of nature and you finally see nature's like animal that it's there, it's breathing, and it's like you want to take away the life of it. It's kind of like wow, like you're
Well,
admiring the nature of it, but then destroying it.
don't you think that's kind of like built into our DNA though? Because for a long time, many years, we were hunter gatherers, you know,
Mhm.
and that whole experience of like going hiking or like going out into nature
Oh,
is
yeah.
something that we just intuitively like
Mhm.
because it just traces back to when we were like always exposed to nature, being in the state of nature, you know,
Yeah.
the Hobbesian state of nature
Yeah.
is what I'm referring to. So don't you think that feeling of killing an animal and then eating it is kind of something that we intuitively like, and is something that is intuitively something that we want to celebrate?
Yeah. Yes, I understand that. And I think that's important in a sense when it was back then, because it was such an accomplishment for us to catch an animal because we didn't have an eat for days. Like people would fast for weeks because they couldn't find a source of food.
Yeah.
So once they found a bear, once they found a cow or something to kill, they found it a celebration. That's why they sacrifice these animals and they thank the gods for it. And, you know, they did so much to just show appreciation that they get to eat.
Yeah.
And I totally get that, but the reality is that we're very modernized now, and I don't think it's, you know, you go on a hike, I see a bear, I don't think I want to eat that bear, you know, like it's all about time and how much we've grown since then. You know, we don't need animals to survive now. We have so many alternatives. We have, you know, shelter, we have clothes, we don't need to do that anymore. We need to grow as a civilization and, you know, like, protect these animals, like, because a lot of them are going extinct now, you know? Like,
Well, one of the ways to protect them is to actually get rid of some of them. What were you going to say?
Yeah, like one thing I was gonna say to Arlette, you know, just so that it doesn't seem like I'm siding with her on everything, is I feel to an extent, these alternatives and these synthetic creations are a bit more damaging to the environment than going with like a more natural source of supplies, you know, like whether it be animals
or
clothes and
nutrition.
stuff like that. Yeah, like I'm not 100% on either side. You know, I'm kind of like I'm open to the alternatives, you know, because she's like put me on to like a few foods already, you know, and I mean it's not bad, you know, it's not where I'm like, oh, like I'm never doing this. Like I feel like I could sustain myself on that, but I'm sure like all these synthetic things are a bit more damaging, or I don't know if they are, if you know a little bit about that, if they're more...
For people like, okay, I'm sorry.
No, go for it, go for it.
For people like Cameron Haynes, someone that's into hunting, he's a famous like marathon runner, so this guy, Cameron Haynes, his explanation for why he hunts, not only is it to help out the cause, you know, like to kill off certain populations that are getting too high, but it's also because that animal that he kills, essentially he uses that for food on a daily basis, and he uses that animal to feed his family. And his explanation for why he hunts is because he likes to know where his food came from. He likes to know that it came from a natural animal, that it's not mass produced in some factory, you know, where the living conditions of that certain animal was probably bad. So yeah.
is he a native? Does he live in any living conditions where like he can't kill animals?
He go out. What was it? Remember he
he has to fly out.
He flew out, and then even then he didn't fly directly to the location where he was at.
Yeah.
He got there through, I think, driving, right?
Yeah, he drives there, and then
so he takes a plane there, and then he drives.
Yeah,
where did he go?
The only way I think you could bring back that animal is, I think, if you drive it back to the border, because I don't think they'll let you carry that on an airplane.
See, that's the thing. Like, why are you driving and then taking a plane and then doing all that just to kill an animal, just to say you know where it came from, when you could simply eat like a bag of fruits that came from farmers that are harvesting them.
Well, someone has to kill off certain populations of animals. He's one of those people.
Uh-huh.
And not only that, but like you said, it's also tradition,
Mhm.
and he likes to know where his food comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
And the food that he's feeding his family most
Yeah.
of all.
But yeah, what do you think about like what I said? Like, is all these synthetics and like alternative, not just in terms of food, but like in terms of production, like
Mhm. Are they more environmentally destructive?
yeah, then like
When
just
you
a
say synthetic, like,
natural-
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about
Like synthetic leathers
stuff
and like
stuff that's not biodegradable.
Oh,
That's,
okay.
that's made in labs, you know, because eventually, say if you kill an animal, it it dissolves. Like
Yeah.
the bones, they eventually go away after years and stuff.
Mhm.
Like some take longer than others, but a lot of this new stuff, I feel like, well, I guess now more than ever, they've been making more products that are biodegradable. But for a while, that wasn't really like really a thing, you know. Like
Yeah.
look at the production of plastic bags. Like that shit's insane, you know.
Yeah.
Straws.
Straws, they're getting rid of straws, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's pretty dope.
I was supposed to intern for the guy that put that policy into place.
Oh.
Have you seen those stupid fucking those like caps at Starbucks? And people think they're doing something, but it looks like
What?
way more plastic.
What caps?
Yeah, like okay, so you know those white caps that they would put on the hot coffees.
Yeah.
So they're making those clear now
What?
to replace.
The picture's gonna
straws.
come up right here. Watch. When I'm gonna edit this, I'm gonna put the picture right in because I don't know what it would look
Yeah,
like.
like it's a new it's literally clear. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as those white ones.
Yeah.
But it's clear and I think it's still made out of plastic, so I don't see the point in it.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And people are like
What?
people are all over Twitter like saying, "Oh, ask them for whatever cap it is." And I'm
Yeah.
like, it looks like more plastic than a straw.
Yeah, man. I mean, anything that's see-through should more often than not be plastic, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I feel like things that are produced more naturally, and a lot of
Okay.
it probably does come from animals, like oils and stuff that's
Yeah.
used in maybe like shampoos,
Yeah.
colognes, stuff like that. You know, like it seems like it would be a little bit more harsh on the environment than a more natural method of production. You know?
See, the crazy thing is that like animal agriculture is actually like one of the biggest leading causes to climate change.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Mass
people,
production.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people want to, like, if one burger is like I don't know how many pounds of water, and it just it keeps going. The environmental defects just keep going. So you're using up all this food that we could be giving to people.
Yeah.
You're overfeeding the cows so that you can eat, and then we're killing them off, and then we're sending gas house emissions into the air, which is disrupting the weather. And I would honestly just think that as in comparison to all of that, with all the synthetic usage, I don't think it's nearly like close to the damage that all animal agriculture is causing them using synthetics and all that stuff.
That's another reason why Cameron Haynes says he hunts, because he doesn't contribute to the mass production, like the mass consumption of meat that's produced in factories.
Yeah, of course not.
One-
But that's the reality. That's like not everyone has the privilege
Yeah.
to do that.
Well,
Although there are a lot of people that are getting hired by the government to do that, it's not the majority of people. Like everyone's out here buying stuff from Carl's, from and
Not
they're
everyone has that time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
cheap. That's a big reason why a lot of people consume that fast food. It's because it's super cheap,
Oh, it's super
easily accessible, and you get your food right away. What were you gonna say?
Ah, shit, I forgot.
Damn, I
it
knew
was
you
a-
wouldn't forget.
It was something good though. I know it.
Did you know that that's gonna
Oh,
be?
no, I remember. My bad. Sorry. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, man.
Yeah, like in terms of what we're talking about right now about that mass production.
Yeah.
Now we were actually talking about it before. We were talking about the Belgian blue cattle, the ones that
The Belgian blue cattle. Yeah, the big ass one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They have low levels of myostatin,
Yeah,
and like
they're
it's
all
caused by
freaking jacked. Have you
it's
seen
ca-
this cow?
Have you seen those cows?
They're all jacked.
Pull it up. What's that cow?
Pull it up
Just
right
who
now.
we're talking about. But anyway,
the cows or bulls.
it's a blue cattle. Yeah, so
It's a bull then.
yeah, but they're used for meat and stuff. But the thing is that they figured out that if you remove the GDF8 gene, they grow like 2 to 3 times more than they regularly would. Like,
Jesus Christ.
but this happens naturally. This is
Yeah,
not done by anybody. This is natural. Like
Crazy.
it's a defect
Look at
in
this
your
man's
DNA.
tricep.
Yeah.
Look at that tricep, man.
Gains, bro.
But yeah, it's natural. So a lot of what they're trying to do now to like help, I guess, slow down mass production, is like when they breed these animals, they delete that GDFA gene so that they grow more, so that they have to, so they don't have to make, I guess, breed as many cows as they would before, you know. And they figured out that they can do this in other animals. And right now it's still like in the early stages because they're really working on it with like rats and stuff like that. But I mean,
see, that's the thing that I find crazy. It's like we're spending so much money, so much time doing this, taking out a gene just so that we could keep incorporating to animal agriculture, and it's just I just think it's
but what
really
do you think about
destructing our planet.
like plant agriculture? Like that is also something that affects the environment a lot. Like I know that one of the concerns that people are having over like marijuana is that it's this fucking thing that's actually destroying the environment. It's causing because like a marijuana plant consumes way more water than I forgot the typical plant or something like that. So I forgot, I think it's like 3 times more than like I forgot what other kind of plant, but this is actually consuming way more water in California, and in California we have a deficit for like water in our reservoirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Do we still?
we're getting out of it, but it's still
We got a lot of
borderline.
rain. We got a lot of rain.
It's
But I
borderline,
would say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But the thing is, too much of anything is gonna be bad. You know,
Yeah.
like that's people are fucking up too. Like they're fucking up in the animal agriculture and the plant agriculture because they're putting way too much wheat plants to the point where we're losing water, and then they're breeding way too many animals to the point where we're also losing water and losing a lot of crops. You know, because we have to feed the animals and everything. So it's like, it's just.
But like these two things have a high demand, and that's the problem because people have a high demand for weed. People have a high demand for animal products. You know what I mean? So anything with a high demand is gonna fucking cause that mass production.
That's what I'm saying. Like there wouldn't be need to kill these animals off if there wasn't a supply or a demand for them. You know what I mean? Like if we didn't say if everyone just went vegan, cows, they wouldn't be overpopulated. It'd be at a sustainable level.
You know what would happen? There'd be a mafia. There'd definitely be a mafia. Anytime you
most
prohibit
likely,
something
yeah.
that has a demand,
But
there's always organized
let's
crime.
just say in a perfect world, everyone goes vegan. Say everyone agrees to. Everyone's like, okay, fine. You know, like there's an alternative for everything. You know, they find every alternative for anything that you'd want. Making that demand like diminish like that, it would kind of like stabilize it, don't you think, in a way too? Because there wouldn't be a demand for it, so these cows, for example, same example we'll be using, wouldn't be overbred, and there'd be just
Exactly.
you know like what.
And that's an argument a lot of people
nature
ask
intends,
me.
you know?
Like they're like, oh, what if this happens? Like there's a lot of like reasons why people don't like go vegan, and they message me, they're like, hey, I want to go, but I don't think it's in our nature.
Damn, it's gotta suck being you, man. You got a lot of shit to handle, you know, like because
It's a
you're
lot of
always
questions.
preaching these like ideas and thoughts. Like you probably have a lot of DMs like with like people that are just annoying, right?
A lot.
Dude.
It's so much. But I mean, it's natural, you know, like it's something that's very odd, especially from like a Latina, especially someone who you just know that's around the community that's doing it, you know.
Yeah, you're definitely an outlier.
Because it's uncommon, and you know you don't hear about it, and then, of course people go resulting back like it's a white people thing, you know, only rich people can afford it, and it's just like not the case. Like you know, like I'm a broke college student at times.
Steak's expensive, man.
Yeah,
It's expensive.
Steak's expensive.
We know
We know that.
we know that.
And it's just I love it though. Like I love explaining to people because I realize how like closed and like I was to it until I met influencers and I talked to people and I read about it and I got a passion for it. I changed my major for it, you know, like it's just a lot, and I want to just be able to inspire people and like to help them, I know, because a lot of people do result in problems and they don't know why. And a lot of the reasons is because of what they're eating.
Their
you know?
diet, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's just not necessarily like the fact that they eat meat, it could just be other stuff, you know, like stuff that they're not eating.
Like processed foods,
like,
they're not eating enough calories within the day, they're not drinking enough water.
It's the same thing with like the gym. Like there's a lot of people that they hit me up, you know, and then they tell me like they're like, yeah, like I want to get into the gym, you know, like I want to do this, or they ask me, you know, like how do you do that? How do you do this? You know, like that makes me feel a little better, you know, because it's kind of like, oh, like they trust you, you know, they see that you've gone
Yes.
somewhat through it, you know, and it's kind of motivating to me. Like, even though I don't have it perfected, like I can say I know a few things, you know, like I can be able to tell you if you want to bulk, I can give you like an idea of what might help you. You could do your own research, you know, but I can kind of give you an idea of where to start versus just getting into the gym and or
having
even just
no
dieting,
idea what you're doing.
Yeah, because a lot of it we had to figure out on our own.
Hell yeah, man.
Same.
For like the first year, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
We were in the gym, but it was just more of a thing to pass time. It wasn't even like
Yeah.
a serious thing.
It's just to get started, you know? You
Yeah.
have no idea what you're doing in the beginning, and then you're open to so many things. People are telling you this, people are telling you that. Oh, don't lift weights. Oh, lift weights, but only little. Oh, do cardio, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's just all over the place, and it's just like, you have to remember what's good for you. Like, yeah, there's some really fit people that never lift weights. They do calisthenics. They do ballerina dancing. They do hip-hop. They do other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
CrossFit, stuff
And it's
like
crazy.
That,
Like, you have to find your passion, you know? Like,
Yeah, like you said, everyone's different. Like
Yeah.
some people have really like sensitive joints, and so they
Yeah.
can't lift as heavy, so they have to go lightweight, high reps. You know, so everyone's different.
yeah, it's
and
crazy.
it just depends also like what you're going for too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's one thing that I really like that motivates me. You know, when people ask me like, oh, like what do you think I should do? You know, or people tell me, oh, I want to get into the gym, and like there's been a few people who have come to the gym with me before, and you know I kind of just show them like, oh, you know, like so these are like kind of like the basics. Like other than that,
I'd gone to the gym with you and I was dying the next day. I remember.
Really?
Yeah, my arms I couldn't lift them.
Wow.
oh yeah, and that's kind of like, is that when you like really started going to the gym? Because I feel like you were going a little bit before, or is that when you started?
I was going, but I wasn't like lifting weights. I did a
Yeah.
lot of calisthenic resistance work, and then I got into weights like recently this past year. And it's been
because
crazy.
it's way more. I feel like it's way more efficient than just doing cardio and stuff like that.
So much.
So-
like,
But yeah,
As you know already, that camera is gonna die any second now. So if you want to put a plug for your like your YouTube channel or like your
okay.
Instagram
We
page,
just
make sure
started
you
it.
do that. So your Instagram is
at plant-based Lugo, and then my personal account is just underscore Lugo with 3 O's.
and then your YouTube channel. That's something you just started, right?
Yeah, I just started my YouTube channel last week. I'm going to be uploading a video next week, and I'm going to keep uploading. So
what's
that's,
the channel
focus-
about?
yeah,
What's
what's
the
the
channel
focus
about?
of
Because
your
people
channel?
are gonna want to know about that.
my channel mainly is going to be focused on holistic health, the medicines that I practice with my sister, and that we practice on other people as well. Like I practice it on my friends, and you know, my fitness journey, because obviously I'm not where I want to be. So the gym wise, what I'm eating to get there, and how I've helped like, you know, my beauty tips, like how I have cleared my skin, how my hair is so long. It's just, you know, things like that. So if people like this for guys and girls, because I'm gonna be talking a lot, like even about like, you know, when you have muscle pains, what you can do and like stuff like that. So if you guys are into any of that, just hit my thing. It's also plant-based Lugo on YouTube.
one last thing: are you going for something a little bit more instructional or something more personal, like a vlog?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, because you know sometimes like you look at
sometimes-
channels and it's just demonstrationals, like just tutorials, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or is it gonna kind of be like a day-to-day thing where you take people through what you do throughout the day, or
I
do you want to do
kinda-
like a mix of both?
I
or-
want to do a mix of both because I think it's important to show people how instructional things have led to basically being my personal life.
and then you actually do it, you know?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
you could put a lot of fake personality out there, but if you see people see you doing it on daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people like seeing that stuff. They're
Yeah, like I was telling Jason, I'm like, oh, you know, like we should do like live sessions so people can
that'd
see
be
that
cool.
it's not just staged, you know, like they can see that
This is like a whole
this
thing
is
that
what
goes
we're-
on. It
this
goes
is
on-
legit what
yeah.
we're thinking, you know. It's not stuff we're staging. It's not
A script.
someone we're pretending to be. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we have literally nothing. Like all the stuff that we talk about, it's stuff we remembered, we researched. You know, like it's not always perfect. We don't know everything,
Exactly.
but
We
you know,
record from beginning to
Yeah.
end, and it goes unedited. So like the podcast gets uploaded, and then I do separate clips.
Yeah.
And then so at Arlette Lugo, at Plant Based Lugo, and your YouTube channel
Hit me
is
at plant-based Lugo.
Plant Based Lugo. So make sure you guys go check that out. The link to all those things are going to be in the description below. So her Instagram, her YouTube
Subscribe.
channel is going to be in my description for this video. So again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you liked the video, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up. And if you guys want to share this video to your friends, make sure you do that. Leave a comment in the comment box below to who you want to see or like something you liked or disliked about this video. It doesn't matter. So again, thank you guys for watching and sticking around.
Bye.